I'm not even gonna lie, when we get episodes like episode 182 of Boruto Naruto Next Generations, a big part of me sits back and thinks, yo, if only Boruto would have started off like, with just the manga canon material a few years after the manga ran, so that way we wouldn't need, countless episodes of anime only exclusive content or whatever. Because when you get episodes like this one, fam, dog, yo! And by the way, before people start attacking, there is some good anime-only stuff that happened in Boruto. Deepa for starters, but I'm just saying in terms of, looking at this episode, this was, in my opinion, one of the most intense moments in the Boruto anime thus far, that not only is, just an intense moment, but also it doesn't really include, a Naruto, a Sasuke, a Sakura, or any of the older, Jonin from the Hidden Leaf, and the characters that, for the most part, a lot of us say, oh, those are the ones we really come to Boruto for, because one moment in particular in this episode where Ao and Boruto had me yo, I forgot this happened in the manga, oh my gosh, this is so intense right now, it was insane. But let's take it from the top, people. We gotta talk about it. The Ao arc is in full effect, and it is slamming right now. It is kicking hard body. Let's go. Make your move. That's how it be, though. So the episode kicks off immediately, continuing from where the last one left off with Konohamaru and Mugino, and they are investigating, of course, this crash site, the blimp that fell that was containing some sort of vessel. It's a closed casket or some shit along the lines of that. And all of a sudden, they are ambushed by a bunch of, well, for starters, it looks like a human being, but we find out that it's some androids of a sort, or robots. And man, Mugino's getting quickly, they're putting in work, because they stab him straight through the chest almost immediately on the left side of his chest, and I'm just god damn. You could see already that this arc marked, and I think even a little bit before, when we was getting some of those episodes of the funeral, or it wasn't a funeral, it was the memorial for the 4th grade Shinobi War. Ever since Ao started slowly being introduced, things have gotten progressively darker and darker. We just spent a decent amount of time with Mugino getting to know him more, which honestly was good, and it was a good addition to the story, because in the manga, again, I did not care about Mugino at all. Any of this that happened in the manga, I didn't care, but in the anime, I'm god damn, because they did a good job with fleshing out his character more. And when we just see all these androids coming at them and shit, all these robots, I'm holy shit. Now I can't remember, because again, it's been 3 or 4 years now since this material whatnot, but am I not mistaken to say that wasn't there supposed to be some fighting happening with Konohamaru and Mugino versus those robots, or maybe more of that is supposed to go down? Because later on in the episode, we skipped to they got away, Konohamaru and Mugino, and we didn't get to see no action. I wanted to see Konohamaru. Come on, man, try at the very least to prove us wrong, Konohamaru. Yo, Mugino's there taking shots and shit, and he's taking a arm through the chest, and you just there yeah, yo, we gotta run, we gotta make it. Konohamaru, please. The Studio Fairy, this was a great opportunity to show Konohamaru why he's supposed to be the next Hokage, so to speak. He's supposed to be the 8th. He took out a pain when he was a child. And no, they got away. Shout outs to Mugino, because I feel him, and I don't think he's dead just yet. He's still surviving right now, but I would have loved some combat against those robots. I mean, they're robots, right? This is the Android Saga. I remember reviewing this in the manga and thinking to myself, yo, this is totally reminiscent of Dragon Ball Z's Android Saga. And when you get these little killer robots and shit, I'm okay then. Then we cut to Naruto ordering the new Team 7. They got a new rank mission, a C-level rank, and he's yo, you gotta escort Katasuke. And I feel as though the manga did slightly a better job of really pushing forth the whole ideology and what this message is trying to say, because one of the things is Boruto is still sour about what happened at the Chunin exam, so he's really almost anti-technology, right? So he's begrudgingly yeah, whatever about this mission to escort Katasuke. You even see that he got a beef with Katasuke. He's I don't like this dude. He's the reason why I got humiliated, embarrassed. My father in front of everyone ripped my headband off, said I'm not a shinobi. So Boruto has a grudge against him, but I feel as though in the manga they showcase more that it's almost a battle of, and maybe I think towards the end of the episode it started to add a little more elements of kind of humanity and man's fear to a certain degree of technology and the unknown of it, so to speak, and how it can be a bad thing. But I think one of the things that later on in the episode Ao added, so maybe I take that back about the manga doing it better, because the Ao scene really did add to it, of when he was yo, technology is not inherently necessarily evil or good. So I just feel as though Boruto's character in particular in the manga, I remember thinking like, yo, this is really a good display of man's fear or man's disdain for technology and the advancement of society in that aspect or in that direction. And also it was a really good throwback, and I don't know, maybe I'm like taking back a lot of my words in this one from when I started, because when we get the scene of Boruto, he's at like the cafe or something, and Mitsuki comes in and he's like, yo, if you're not gonna do it, I'm not gonna do it. Well, that's what I would have said, but I got my own free will. Even if you're not doing it, I want to do the mission. That's my choice. And that was a really good throwback to the Mitsuki retrieval arc, which was kind of like a Sasuke retrieval arc in a way. And again, that was anime only stuff. So in a way, I got to take back some of this stuff, because a lot of the anime only stuff is what's making the anime right now a little bit feel more fleshed out. Like, granted, maybe they could have got away with it and it would have felt fine if they would have just strictly adapted the manga years later, seasonally or something like that. But there's something about those anime only adventures that when they come back and they tie into the story, feels kind of nice. I mean, if you've seen the preview with Sumide, is like, yeah, again, another anime only moment. But we cut to Jigen and Amado in the lab, and Jigen is suspicious. He says that despite the fact that Victor was a sniveling little weasel, there is a mole in Kara. He doesn't trust. Somebody is leaking information. They used Victor as basically a guinea pig, but it was somebody else within the inners, not the outers. So not like an owl or an outer member, but an inner that is actually trying to steal the vessel and betray them, and they used Victor as like a essentially scapegoat, so to speak. And he's asking Amado to investigate the Kara members and Kara group, which is kind of interesting. Like, yo, you know, who knows who the hell it could be? I mean, at the end of the day, they're pushing a lot. So far of the Kara members, we got a little bit of that Code guy that he seemed a little suspicious, right? We've seen just a shot or two of Delta, a shot or two of another gentleman that I'm not going to say his name, even though it's not a spoiler, but whatever. And then we got in Kashi and Koji, and we've got in Amado. Like, those are the main members that's been showcased of the inners since all of this really started. So it's probably going to be one of them. Code spoke, and Code was kind of a troll. Kashi and Koji has been really heavily emphasized since, you know, his introduction last few episodes, and, you know, again, Delta and Amado. So him entrusting Amado, it's going to be interesting to see, and it's good too to see like some internal turmoil for the group. So not only it's like that they're having, you know, an outer battle, and it doesn't just feel like a repeat of like the Akatsuki, because now Jigen is also not trusting somebody within the group. So it gives a little more of an interesting dynamic of just, instead of it being like the evil group, like the evil group also has problems within themselves, the Kara, the Husk. But Boruto and crew get on the train so they can head to their mission to escort Katasuke to the lab, and they run into Ao. He's sitting in their chairs, and I ain't gonna lie, every time I see Ao, I'm just like, just the way they're animating him, the expressions on his face, his design, like there's so much to that character. That's something that I genuinely get from him. Like, you see so much regret, despair, just a lot of emotions you can gather from just looking at him. The way his posture of sitting there looking out the window at the train, like seeing how half of him is mechanical, and you know that bothers him, considering he was an upstanding at one given point, even though he's from the Hidden Mist, and, you know, the Bloody Mist was not really that upstanding. But coming from where he comes from, he was, you know, just a righteous, to a certain degree, shinobi, to what he's been left with. So you see a lot in just looking at him. But he says that he has not been back to the Hidden Mist since the war, all his people dying and whatnot, which makes you wonder, just what the hell has this guy been doing? I mean, later on we kind of start to see that, oh shit, he's not on the up and up at all. He's actually a bad guy. But like the fact that he never went back to his village, the fact that it was one of the few times he's actually been to Konoha was during that ceremony, you know, the whole thing for the 4th Great Shinobi War. Like, you can see that the explosion and everybody dying around him really messed him up mentally. Like, Ao is traumatized and disturbed after that. And then one of the most intense scenes in the Boruto anime thus far, period, like I don't care what anyone says, was when they're just talking casually. Like, Katasuke's working on his arm, he's like, oh, there's a loose tendon in there, let's fix that up. And then all of a sudden, regarding the conversation of technology, he takes the screwdriver within a freaking flash and puts it in Boruto's neck. And again, I had forgotten that happened in the manga, so I'm just there like, wait a minute, what's going on here? It took me by surprise, and I'm a manga reader. I was like, this is so intense. I love that moment. That was the best moment, in my opinion, of this episode. I mean, there was another cool moment with the Koji conversation after that, but that was just so intense, and that just showcased like the unpredictability of what we're about to embark on with this Kara arc. Like, Kara is not a game. But I also got to give a little kudos to, and I love how much of a real one he is, when Mitsuki's like, oh, you know, when everything's cleared up and he's just basically demonstrating like, yo, technology can be a good thing or a bad thing. It's because of my technical abilities that I'm able to do this, but that doesn't necessarily mean that it's a bad thing because I'm not your enemy right now at the very least. But then when Mitsuki comes through and he's like, oh, I'm glad you cleared that up, I was about to attack you. I'm like, that's a real friend. That's a real true friend, and I love the dynamic with Mitsuki. I feel as though so much more down the road in the distant future of this story is going to come of Mitsuki's loyalty, but also being his own person with Boruto. So again, yeah, I take back a lot of what I started off this video with kind of downplaying some of the anime only moments, because a lot of that stuff is really coming into their character development and the characterization of who they are now. But then Boruto and company leave, they get off at their stop, and we see on the other side of Ao's chair on the train is Kashin Koji, and he's like, oh shit, what a surprise that an inner would visit me, which kind of indicates that, okay, if Ao is down with them, he's got to be a part of the outers, like he's not in the immediate circle, which is crazy because you think about it, Ao's a formidable shinobi, like he was a top dog, so if he's an outer, how strong are these dudes that are in the inners, minus Victor, which you could tell they just used Victor, he bought his way into the company, and Depot really wasn't with them either, so like they were kind of weaklings that weaseled their way into the inners and were just being used. They're not real inners, they never really were real inners, and Ao's an outer, so goddamn. And through having their conversation and Koji questioning him, I was like, oh yeah, I went to the Hidden Leaf to visit Katasuke because I was going to kill him if he remembered anything. And it takes us back to the Momoshiki arc, which the movie obviously didn't have this in mind when it did it, of Katasuke being this overzealous inventor that went over there and all this shit. He was apparently hypnotized or put into a genjutsu. I'm sorry, hypnotized? What the fuck are we talking about? A genjutsu he was put into, and that's what basically pushed him to do everything that he did in the Boruto Naruto the movie section stuff. And I'm just kind of like, wow, that is such a great writing twist. And again, I remember that from the manga, but like just to see it come to life and them actually utilize Katasuke in a different manner and give him a little more purpose other than just being a piece of shit, I like it. It adds a lot more of the character. And again, now we're starting to see, we're peeling back the layers of just, oh, he's evil, he's evil, dun, 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 evil motherfucker. But following that, Koji says, retrieve the vessel and kill anyone that gets involved in the affairs of it. And yo, you can see, like, just going back to that moment, I think that was one of the most defining moments. I know I spoke about it, but I just want to, again, that was a defining moment of just how dark it'll get with Ao. The fact that he was willing to put to a little Genin, granted Naruto said that Boruto's like on a tuning level or whatever, but he was willing to put a screwdriver to his neck just to show him a quick lesson, like this is a hardcore stone cold animal that is going to do whatever to get that. And don't forget, Konohamaru and Mugino are barely alive, mind you, well, Mugino at the very least, over by the crash site where the vessel is. If Ao's headed that way, we got problems. But Boruto, the naivety of him, because again, even though Naruto said like, yo, Boruto is on like that tuning level at this particular point, he's still mentally somewhere in there Genin, because he's like, oh man, that Ao was such a good guy. Yo, he just put a screwdriver to your neck and low-key threatened you to give you a lesson, like, okay. And then the final scene is Ao standing up in the train, and he's like, yo, it's been 16 years since I've been in combat, let's go. Which I'm kind of wondering, 16 years, was it 16 years since the 4th grade Shinobi War? And I want to say Boruto and them are about like 12, so was it 4 years before all of them were born? Like, I'm a little bit confused on the timeline, unless it was like even a few years before the war, since he actually had hand-to-hand combat. But either way, amazing episode, great episode. This is the stuff manga reader's been telling you guys, that when the anime gets to this, it's going to get real. You're going to want to read this, you're going to want to watch this, and it was fire, honestly. Very curious what you guys think about this though. For starters, how do you feel about Ao? What do you think is going to go down there? Your thoughts on Konohamaru? Like, yo, they should have give him a little bit of like action, man. There's all these robots, kill the robots, god damn it. Your thoughts on Ao putting Katasuke into a genjutsu, and that's what really went down during the Boruto Naruto the movie stuff, which makes sense because they were wondering who put Katasuke into that genjutsu. Now we find out all this time later it was Ao. And just your overall thoughts and expectations for this. Who do you think is the mole in Kara that is working and doing all these dastardly deeds to their own people? Boruto animes on that hype train, let's freaking go. That's all I have for this one. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed. If you liked anything I had to say or enjoyed the video, drop me a like. I'd greatly appreciate it. And if you want more from me, make sure to subscribe. Follow me on Twitter, Instagram. Hit that bell to get all notifications. And if you want to follow any of my other social media, links in the description below. I'm ForneverWorld, and as always, people, have an awesome day. And remember the golden rule. Anime and manga for life, boy. Have an awesome day. Peace in. And yo, Kara, Koji. Konohamaru, do something, please. Fight the robots. God damn it, at least you could do that. Have an awesome day, people.
It's nights like this, and times like this,
What's that?
that I can give another hit. But I've got this inside a switch, a natural